Welcome back to the NPH Hour on News Talk Saga 960 AM. I'm your host, Jason Tom. So you just heard from Jazzman Senga, a player that needed to improve his game and his grades in order to reach his goal of playing Division I basketball. But there are also players that can qualify academically, but have not reached the skill level or athleticism needed to play at the Division I level, which is a much higher level of basketball than many people realize. But for some, a few years at a junior college can get them ready. Maybe physically they've caught up to their American counterparts, or simply playing day in, day out against older players have given them the edge that they needed. Or maybe it's playing under the tutelage of coaches that have coached at the next level. Other times, it's just being seen by the right person to give them the chance that they need, or maybe it's all of those things. For others, sometimes they need to experience the JuCo route to understand what they really need is right here at home in Canada. That's the story of Adika Peter-McNeilly, but as it turns out, he didn't need to make it to Division I basketball to represent his country on the international stage, or play professionally, or win a championship. And now, playing the role as an alternate, he is starting to learn a new incarnation of the sport of basketball, which is making its Olympic debut at the upcoming games. 3x3. Yes, 3-on-3 basketball. The sport is growing in more ways than one. Adika Peter-McNeilly, senior men's national team member, current pro, who is speaking with me from Spain, where he's training with a group of guys looking to qualify for Team Canada's 3x3 team for the upcoming Olympics. Adika, I know this is your first opportunity to train for a 3x3 competition. How has this been different than any of your other basketball experiences to this point?
It's 3-on-3. You're so used to the 5-on-5 setting and having 15 guys in a training camp and going in, but having only 5 of us to practice, and when you go to an open court and there's only 5 guys, and having a lot of 1-on-1 drills and 2-on-2 drills, and it kind of just changed my perspective on the game of basketball.
Yeah, I don't think people really realize that this is going to be an Olympic sport, and it's something that's growing everywhere. And I know Canada basketball is getting on board with it. And, let's go over some of these rules. The games go to 21 or 10 minutes, which is pretty short, 12-second shot clock. And the big one for me when I'm watching the games, there's no check up top. I mean, the team that's scored on, they do have to clear the 3-point arc, but the defense doesn't get a chance to set. You can just kick it out and immediately shoot a 3. And, what has been the hardest one to maybe wrap your head around on or really get used to changing the way you play?
I think you hit it right on. It's just that switch from offense to defense. From the moment you score the layup or you score a 3-pointer, there's no checkup. There's no, I'm going to relax. It's got to play defense right away. You got to find an open man and defend him and make sure they don't get a 3 up. So it took me a couple of days to kind of figure that out. But once you figure that out, the other rules are a little smaller. And, you get pick up on things, and you have guys like Steve and Kyle that just kind of tell you like do this, do that, or when this situation happens, do this. So yeah.
And then, the 3's a 2. So that's another big one.
Yeah, that's another thing.
and I mean, the ball as well. It's completely unique, and because many of these games are played outside, right? So, maybe the ball and maybe, the environment, how does that change things for you as well?
So it's a girl's ball. It's a size 6 ball, but the weight of a men's ball. And it has these weight patterns. So it's meant to play outside, more aerodynamic, with the wind and everything, all the factors. So when you pick it up, you're like, it feels regular, but the fit of it's different. For me, I'm able to palm it better. It's a lot more pick and roll. It's a lot more switching on defense. And it's just kind of picking your poison. A lot of the bad passes that might happen in 5-on-5 will be good passes on 3-on-3 because there's more spacing. So it's a little bit of adjustment on that aspect.
Now, has this experience brought you back to your roots a little bit? Doesn't matter the ball, doesn't matter the court, doesn't matter the rules. It's just like being back home in Scarborough, just out there competing and hooping.
For sure. Once you have a basketball and a hoop, man, it doesn't matter if it's 1-on-1 or 5-on-5. Any combination in between, it's basketball. So once you have a foundation of it, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, but like, back home, if you don't chuck up top, I mean that
Oh
results
yeah,
in.
yeah, that's gonna be something. If you don't check it up top, it's not valid until you check it up top.
So now let's talk about Scarborough a little bit, right? So it doesn't matter if it's D1, JuCo, U Sports, overseas pros. What are the characteristics of a Scarborough baller?
Gritty, always coming with your A game, no matter where it is and who's in the gym is always bringing your A game because you're gonna hear it. There's gonna be people saying like, you're not good enough, and then you have to prove someone wrong, and it's just like, well, that guy's in the gym today. What are you gonna do against him? So it's always that constant. I have to prove myself. The gritty, like this is my name, and I have to make my name and just show out.
Let's talk about the McNeilly family name because it's synonymous with basketball here in Canada in a lot of ways. I have a number of times I've talked to a number of your family members trying to really just figure out that family tree. Can you take me through it as best you can of the coaches, the players, cousins, brothers, everything?
Oh man, it's a long, long list. I don't even know the whole list, but I would say my dad came over from Trinidad and he played for Jarvis Collegiate way back in the day. His brother, my Uncle Chris, he played at York University for a bit. And he had a son, Ryan McNeilly. He played at Ryerson. Then my brothers, I have Jamie McNeilly, and my nephew now, Cassius McNeilly. He just committed. And how about there's so many. I'm gonna be missing a lot. There's a lot more that played. I just don't know the school probably, but I know for sure there's at least 5 or 6 more basketball athletes.
So you coming out of high school, you went the junior college route. And what went into that decision and
Yeah.
then the reason to come back to U Sports after the 1 year? I ask because, there's just a lot of players out there kind of facing that same decision right now. And I know everyone has a different path, but what was yours?
I was like every kid. I wanted to go Division 1. I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school, and I felt like I could play at that level. So I just kind of took a risk and be like, let me just go junior college and see if I could make it that way. I already qualified academically. I just didn't get the look. So my whole mindset was going there for 1 year and try and play and ball out and end up somewhere. And then after the year, it didn't go as expected. I didn't really want to go back to junior college, and I was always in a good contact with Roy Rana. And he's like, you can come home. And I'm like, all right, I just made a decision to come back to Ryerson. It was probably one of the best decisions I ever made.
So why was that a great decision? What are the differences between the junior college and U Sports kind of opportunities that are there? Because I think a lot of people just say, okay, well, the JuCo is a grind. Well, I can grind it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily all about that. It's situation. It's about amount of time you can actually spend in the gym and everything. And then meanwhile, here at U Sports, there's maybe opportunities that people don't fully understand.
Yeah, for me, I just felt like the U Sports kind of suited my game more. I just kind of been real with myself. I'm like, I wasn't the most athletic. I'm like, okay, I know Division 1, they're looking for athletes, and from there they're gonna look at the skill set. And I'm like, okay, like where do I want to see myself? I want to be part of a winning culture. I want to be close to home. I know most of the guys on the team, and I just felt like going back to Ryerson, it would just fit my skill set more. And I think that I would be a better player down the line. And I think that was a good decision.
Returning home also allowed you to be involved in the national program, and you're one of over 30 players that were able to represent Canada through the FIBA qualifying window. The last chance to qualify for the Olympics comes this summer in Victoria. I know you'll be watching. What would it mean, to you and all the guys that were involved in this path to this point, to watch Canada get out there and try to book a ticket to the Olympics on the men's side?
It would mean a lot. I mean, everyone watches Olympic basketball, and just seeing the ABC Canada in the Olympics, I mean a lot. Like, and for us playing in the windows and getting the guys, whoever it is on that team to get there, it would mean a lot. Like who wouldn't want to see Canada basketball at the Olympics with all the players in NBA now, and high levels overseas, get to play and hopefully get a medal.
Another thing that's happened here in Canada that didn't exist when you headed down south to junior college is the CEBL, and you were involved right from the inaugural season with the Edmonton Stingers. Now you're a part of a championship team, that same Stingers squad. How special was that, and the fact that you were coached by another Roy Rana disciple in Jermaine Small?
And I've known Coach Smalls for a very long time. Even when I was in high school, I've known Coach Smalls. Like, he was recruiting me to come to Ryerson. So our relationship goes way beyond basketball. So, I mean, from Ryerson, him coaching me at Ryerson, training me in the summers, doing all the basketball camps together. And then when he made that call and he's like, like Edmonton Stingers, I'm like, well, let's do it. Like, it's a first time league. I didn't really know much of it, but I was like, why not? Like, I'm going to come home and train in a week while I can actually train, practice, and play in games. So, and it took off, and we have a great team with Edmonton. We brought most of our guys back, and then our goal in the bubble is to win, and we ultimately won. And now it's like, okay, like, how do we repeat that?
And that wasn't the only first chance for you to play pro. You played pro in Germany, and Jamie had played there as well. What does it mean to be able to go into this new country, but have somebody to lean on that has done that before and has been able to kind of show you the ropes to an extent?
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, you teach us so much. Like, it's easy to lean on my brother and like, okay, like, what did you do in this situation? What did you do in that situation? But I think the benefit with having my brother Jamie was like, he would tell me some stuff, but he didn't tell me everything. He didn't give me the whole booklet. Like, okay, this is what you're gonna do for every situation. He kind of gave me an outline, like, this is what to expect, but you got to go out there and be a man and be a pro and find your own path.
Just like when you were growing up, right? When you had the older brother beating up on you on the
yeah, he for sure did that all the time. He for sure did that all the time. He always beat up on me one-on-one. He would just try and beat me all the time, and that's all my brothers. Yeah, I was the youngest one, so I got it all.
And in Canada now, that's what we're seeing. There's so many siblings. The younger brothers are coming up now. What kind of advantage did you have, or do younger brothers have in general, when they have older brothers that have played professionally and kind of went down that path? Of course, they're not going to give you the booklet, but at the same time, it does give you an advantage, doesn't it?
Oh, I think it does. I mean, it's just the insight of everything and being around that environment. I remember when I was young with my older brother, Jay, he was coaching at Centennial, and I would just go to the practice, and I was probably like grade 3, grade 4, but I was able to just watching the practice of guys older than me. And then when Jamie got older, seeing practices, I remember going and watching him play when he was at University of New Orleans, and then when he was a grad assistant at Marquette, and just going down there and seeing those guys' worth ethic. I remember watching Jimmy Butler for the first time before anyone knew Jimmy Butler. Yeah. And I'm like, man, this guy's going to be special. And I remember coming back from a summer, and I was telling my best friend, I'm like, just remember the name Jimmy Butler. Just remember the name Jimmy Butler. Like, this guy's going to be amazing. And then look at Jimmy Butler now. So I think all those little things, just kind of seeing the worth ethic and the time you have to put in to be like the best basketball player you possibly can, just made me want to get that much better and work that much harder.
Adika Peter-McNeilly from Spain, thanks for taking the time on the NPH Hour, man.
No, thank you very much.
So after training camp in Spain, Adika is returning here to Canada to get ready to help the Edmonton Stingers defend their CEBL championship. While the veteran 3x3 team of Steve Sir, Kyle Landry, Jordan Jensen-White, and Alex Johnson will stay in Europe for the final Olympic qualifier, which runs May 26th to 30th. 3-on-3 basketball is here to stay, and it creates just another opportunity for Canadian players to gain life experiences through this sport. And next on the NPH Hour, we have a young man that exemplifies the saying, use the game, don't let the game use you. And he made the most of the opportunity that this sport gave him. A former Mr. Basketball Canada, who now goes by the name Dr. Julian Clark. You have to hear his story. That's coming up next here on the NPH Hour on News Talk, Saga 960 AM.